Welcome to another episode of The Boost. Sit down with us as we talk to Venture Lab. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. This is Pablo.
And this is Leon.
And I'd like to introduce Dr. Glangchai, founder of Venture Lab, and Desma Dietz, the executive director of Venture Lab. And, I'm really excited about this episode because as far as, being involved with Venture Lab now, it's been about 3 years.
Yeah.
So, I've seen the growth and all of the changes that are happening. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, very excited to talk.
So, Dr. Glangchai.
Oh, and Cristal.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Cristal. Tell me about how Venture Lab came to be.
Oh gosh, yeah. So started back in, I always forget, 2012 or 2013. I think 2013. I was thinking about it in 2012. So I had started a tech company in grad school and really noticed lack of women in tech, lack of women CEOs, lack of Hispanics, even within the investors, not many women or people of color. And that got me started thinking, where were all the women and people of color in tech, in entrepreneurship, in, investing? So when I went to the university, I was trying to kind of solve for that problem. I wanted to get more girls and students of color into my class. And I really found like it was like pulling teeth. I just couldn't get them into my classes, or they'd get into my classes and they would just drop out. They would be like, oh, I can't do it, or they'd be very timid or afraid to raise their hand. So I realized I needed to start even younger. So I started teaching my kids, who were 4 and 5 at the time, and I started teaching them the same entrepreneurial concepts that I was teaching my college kids, and found that just by changing the language, they were learning the same things. So they'd go to school, they'd start raising their hands, they would sell stuff in the playground and get in trouble, but I was really excited about that. But I really noticed their increase in confidence, and their teachers were coming up to me saying, hey, how do we get this into schools? How can we teach kids to be more confident and entrepreneurial? And that kind of led us on the start. We started in San Antonio with summer camps, and then ended up going into schools and have now become kind of a global entrepreneurship movement, I think.
That's amazing. So what is it about this issue that you feel is imperative for the community to understand?
Well, I think there's actually 2 issues. So my main problem is, I think, preparing girls and underserved youth for a world that's constantly changing. There's so much, innovation is changing so rapidly. We've got global interconnectedness, and we're not preparing students for the future, right? So the education system was really developed during the Industrial Revolution, and it's kind of a factory model to churn out workers that can do tasks and follow, specific, rules. And what we haven't done is prepare kids for a world where they need to be okay with ambiguity, where they need to problem solve open-ended questions. They need to be able to seek out opportunities. So I think that's part of the problem on the education side. The side that I'm passionate about is that there really is this huge inequality gap for women and people of color in entrepreneurship, in innovation, in leadership positions. So we really want, everyone creating new products and new processes and new companies. We don't want to be leaving out 50% of our population. So I think it's really important for our community to be able to educate all children in these entrepreneurial skills and mindsets, so that we can basically be creating products and services for everyone and benefiting our society.
Very good. As far as the overall broad impact on the community, Venture Lab's success is going to have an impact on that. What would you say that broader impact would be if Venture Lab is successful?
If Venture Lab is successful, the way I see a broader impact is that we're bringing more diversity of thought, more diversity of perspective, more diverse people into solving these grand challenges and problems of society. So just making society a better place by having products and services and companies that are developed by a diverse group of people.
Mm-hmm. There's a number of organizations that are doing it. It's a problem that's out there, but what sets Venture Lab apart from these other organizations or others that are advocating for this out there?
Yeah, I think what sets us apart is really our focus on teaching entrepreneurship, but not just entrepreneurship as far as starting companies. It's really about that entrepreneurial mindset, like giving kids the courage to try something and fail, to learn about seeking out opportunities, to learn to be, failure resilient. In schools right now, we teach kids, to get the perfect grades, to get the A's, to go apply to the perfect college, to get the perfect job, but we don't really teach them to fail. And as an entrepreneur or someone developing products in any field, you have to be able to, one, fail and learn from your failures. And I think the other critical piece is that we're starting by teaching these mindsets really young. So a lot of studies show that kids' brains and synapses, they're forming new connections super rapidly. So if you can start to teach kids the entrepreneurial skill sets and mindsets at a young age, I think that's something that they can draw from forever in their lifetime. It doesn't matter if they start a company earlier on, but they now have access to that pathway of like, oh, here's how I can do it. If they are an artist and they're trying to market their art, if they're an engineer trying to develop a new product, they can go back to that learning and use that process. And they already have that built-in confidence, like saying that they can do it.
Yeah, Leon, if I could add something to Cristal's comment about, the two different issues that we're trying to solve, that lack of diversity and really preparing youth. One of the things that drew me to Venture Lab that I found unique about it is this sort of starting young. But when you think about entrepreneurship, immediately people think about, oh, it's starting a business. We are not interested in third graders dropping out of fourth grade and launching the next successful billion-dollar product at all. We want them to know how to take an idea, not dismiss it because it's silly or stupid, and really show them how they can take it from just that nugget in their head and give them the skills along the way to fail a lot, but learn from those mistakes, to be agile, to, and then learn the hard skills of how to do market research, and all the way to culminating in pitching to their peers and the adults that they respect, and really transforming really as a student. And that leaves them from that class into the next grade, into their next career. And when we look at Jobs for the Future, just did this incredible paper called I think The Big Gap or something, and it's about how if you're starting in high school to teach kids about entrepreneurship or career exploration, it's way too late, and for that very reason that Cristal mentioned about how, where are the girls in these classes? They've edited themselves out with that lack of confidence. So if we're intervening with these mindsets and with these skills at this early age, it can really, really change the trajectory. So that inspired me, and I'm really, really excited about the work that we're doing now.
I find it interesting because it's just like languages. They say start very young and it's easier to learn.
Yes.
If I try to start a new language today, I'm going to struggle and probably sound not the most fluent in that language. And I've got two young daughters, I want to teach them that, there's a process and there's different paths in life. And I like that it's not just, starting the drop out of middle school or high school and start a business. But and I really love that. In what ways are like Venture Lab working to uniquely address these challenges? There's a few, paths here that we're talking about too.
Yeah. Well, Cristal could speak to when she was there developing the very first curriculum for that very first summer camp here in San Antonio. It was entirely for girls, right? And so she had a very specific focus of, I need to create a safe space where these girls feel like they can take those risks and raise their hand and really, really challenge themselves to tackle a big problem. And I think that the essence of that, well, those not even the essence, but the actual curriculum and evidence base that created all of that content is now infused into everything that we do in our current programs, right? Which are now, plentiful. Now we've got an, entrepreneurship plus agriculture deep dive into how you can create products and services from agriculture, to our career exploration program, where we're really challenging kids to ask different questions. It all started from this place, I think, of focusing on what additional supports and activities do girls need to feel safe and to thrive and to be able to feel kind of confident in taking those risks. I don't know if there's anything more specific you want to speak to about the curriculum itself.
Yeah, well, I was just going to add that we did develop it with girls in mind, creating that safe space, showing them how they could apply their passion to the world using STEM. But it was also, how do we address making it fun, making learning fun? So kids would come in and be like, oh, we're not learning, we're just going to Venture Lab. So having them brainstorm on the walls, listening to music, having it be more interactive, engaging, actually meeting entrepreneurs that look like them. So it was really trying to develop this comprehensive, engaging, fun, safe curriculum. And I think that's what really makes it unique. I think also we've really gone from, we saw the results from the summer camps and we really wanted to have a huge impact. So we decided, okay, what's the best way to do that? We need to train the teachers and the educators to be entrepreneurial themselves. We really want to have a large impact and make sure that we've spread this entrepreneurial movement and that all kids have access to it. So by training the teachers in these entrepreneurial skill sets and mindsets, those teachers themselves can now go and train and teach their students and really spread this entrepreneurial movement so that all kids have access. And I think that goal and that belief that all kids need access to entrepreneurial learning and entrepreneurial mindsets is really, I think, what makes us unique and our drive to really grow and scale this among all the teachers and students.
Okay. One thing, Desma, that you mentioned was evidence-based, and I'm, big on like a scientific theory and everything that happens in life. You craft a theory, you back it up with numbers. I'm kind of interested in understanding how Venture Lab uses evidence-based to educate these
Yes.
young girls and young children.
Yes. Well, as the architect of the curriculum, please jump in. But really, it's rooted in a bunch of research and that's why we call it evidence-based, because the content itself was developed on research that proves kind of behavior change, social emotional learning, 21st century durable skills. Like what are the lessons and the way that you deliver that content? So that was a lot of what we referenced in the shaping of this curriculum. The way that I've seen it evolve over the past 10 years too is we are very much a teacher informed and teacher led. So we really, really invest in our program evaluation to figure out what's working and what's resonating and what's not. Most importantly, are we seeing the outcomes? And I would love to have a deep dive with you on outcomes, because you're saying, how do we know what success looks like? We measure after every single program, how effective was this in moving the needle on those competencies that we just talked about, the entrepreneurial mindsets that we are seeking to develop. And if we see those improvements, then we know we've got the right ingredients and we've got the right dose and we've got the right, intervention. But it's a constant, reworking and improving, getting that kind of that feedback loop. And we try to publish all of our evaluations so that people can see the real impact of our programming. And a lot of times that's what it takes to get a community to understand, especially administrators who are interested in teaching to the test. But when you turn around and show them, look at the change in these outcomes that matter to you, that matter, not for nothing, to future employers who are looking for entrepreneurial thinking, critical, problem-solving skills. And if we're embedding that and teaching that here, that's what they're looking for too. So it's a lot of just reminding and resurfacing the outcomes of our programs, where we're really starting to see people that get it and then want to continue to build. And let's add a grade next year. Let's keep going deeper with this content. And that's what we're seeing all around the country with our programming.
I like how you mentioned, the teaching to the test. My kids, when they were younger, you didn't really see it. Now they're 12 and 13. When they were younger, teaching to the test, you just thought it was just task-oriented testing. As they're older and you realize that the critical thinking that's necessary to be able to learn the material does take a skill set that's more than just simply rote verbatim respond
Totally.
To answers.
And it's also quite siloed, right? So
Yes.
This is reading class, this is math class. And so you really can't learn, really complex, comprehensive, or even scientific method. You need to think broadly in the way that you're tackling problems and doing design thinking. And, it's interesting when I look at, the pie chart of where are we implementing our programming, The bulk, I would say now, are really in after school environments, frankly, like in out of school time. So we work with plenty of schools that get it and have really embedded this this type of curriculum into their everyday. And it's kind of the culture of the school. But that's the exception. Most schools aren't operating like that. So when we try to find that safe space, that effective space where kids can fail, they're invited to fail. It's frequently in an out of school time, after school, summer camp, homeschool type environment where we've seen the best results, the best implementations of our program.
So let me ask you about your educators. You mentioned that a bit ago. How are you empowering them in that process? Obviously they have to also learn the curriculum and then also learn how to implement that curriculum for that success that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So how are educators prepared?
And I would say that might be a challenge too, because they've gone through that traditional system.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's not unique to Venture Lab. Teacher readiness of anything is the number one indicator of success of whether or not it's going to go over. The kids are going to get it. They're going to have a great experience, whatever. So, so that is our guiding start. The teacher has to be ready, and the teacher has to think like an entrepreneur. If they don't get it, they're going to have a really hard time communicating that. And just as powerful to me as, hearing kids' transformation stories, it's hearing from the educators how it is changing the way that they think, because a lot of our training, we start personal. We start with asking them about, their not school life, and getting them to think about how they take on challenges and the work that we do. So they come to it really, really having internalized the content when they finally are sitting in a classroom teaching kids. But so, as Cristal said, she can reach 25 kids in a summer camp and have a terrific experience, but that's not our path to scale. We can't do what we want to do in that model. So we really did take those years of really understanding what the value was of our program and created more of a train the trainer professional development curriculum and program that we put all of our educators through before they are unleashed into the classroom and ready to teach this content. And we evaluate that training to make sure that we really are delivering the value that we say. And then that's really, really grown from, COVID, our COVID pivot was everything's now going online. And so we kind of stopped the in-person training and are doing a lot more. But that has been also allowed us to really fits our business model, because we're able to now really reach so many more educators in group trainings, which only allows for better networking and a forum for sharing the ideas that work. So we really have become Venture Lab a kind of a thought leader, a subject matter expert in how to teach this, where we are now plugging in all kinds of different YMCAs to community-based organizations to school districts that can lean on us for that technical assistance and the expertise. And really meet the kids where they are in their unique communities. I've kind of made this joke now that, like, if you've seen one Venture Lab program, you've seen one Venture Lab program. The implementations are so unique, and that's part of what we have to do to really kind of customize and make sure that it fits the environment that our teachers are in.
And I just wanted to add to that, talking about the difficulty of teaching teachers who's gone through this system that's very, black and white. Yeah. So when the teachers come into the trainings, a lot of times they don't always know why they're there. They say, oh, well, my administrator said I had to come. And we start off we always open up with some sort of creative activity. So creativity, play, it kind of loosens you up. It lets you have fun. You're not really thinking about right or wrong. So we start with some creativity to loosen the teachers up. And then we start by asking them, like, do you think you're an entrepreneur? And, none of them will raise their hand. And we have to educate them and show them that they actually are entrepreneurs, right? They have to be resourceful in finding stuff for their students, because as you know, a lot of students will go to schools and not have pencils, not have paper, not have all the supplies they need. So the teachers have to be resourceful in their classroom to get them their supplies. And they have to innovate on their curriculum and their lesson plans. Like, what are they going to teach? They're not necessarily dictated how and what they're going to be teaching all the time. So we really have to educate these teachers and show them that they are entrepreneurs and that they can do something. So we take them through the same process of coming up with an idea to, doing the market research to pitching an idea at the end. So that at the end, we ask them, are you an entrepreneur? And everyone in the room raises their hand. And so for me, I think that's the amazing thing. First, showing teachers that they are entrepreneurs. But then also, I think in the way that our curriculum is developed and our lesson plans, we make it super easy. We know that teachers are busy, they have so many things to do. They're staying after school till like 6, they come in at 6 in the morning. So just really giving them, step-by-step instructions and helping them think through how to chunk out the lessons is really how we help the teachers be able to teach this in an effective way.
Now with a broad issue, obviously, like lack of access,
Yep.
Teachers at Venture Lab together, can do quite a bit, but you also rely on partners. And how could potential partners get involved, and why are they so important to Venture Lab?
Yes. Well, Cristal's summer camp could not have grown to the program that we are today 10 years from now without partners and coming in various ways. Funding support, absolutely. You talked about barriers. We have our aim, if we really want to diversify the pool of future innovators, well, we have to go to under-resourced communities, low-income areas to make sure this program is being delivered. So that's where we do rely on either local partners that are also interested in infusing support into their backyards and in their communities, or national partners that really do have the platform and the funding to support that can really help us get there. So always funding support will help us do more with what we've got and grow our resources. But program partners, right? Folks that have connections to school districts, out of school time programs, people who know their own student, in their own backyard, their own communities that need that support. We really want to partner with them and find those connections, and we're doing more of that in San Antonio again, because we know that there is so much potential and there is a beating heart of entrepreneurship in this town, and so we really want to make sure that the youth that are coming up find resources and are able to build that social capital here. And so yeah, that's one of the ways that partners can come forward, is really lending their expertise, lending their dollars, and lending their connections and network to help find places for Venture Lab to be a solution.
And I was going to ask a question. Do a lot of geekdom people follow this podcast?
They are now.
Oh, good.
Yeah, more. I would say more and more.
Okay.
I've been doing geekdom mentoring, so there's a little bit of just like mentioning it to folks, and then Pablo's doing the Trinity and just talking to folks, like even Charles, the CEO I mentioned the other day, and he said, I'll go take a listen.
Well, I was going to say, talking about partners, and just to give a shout out, I mean, our very first Venture Lab camps were held at Geekdom.
Oh, wow.
Back in 2013 when it was in the Weston Center. So having that partnership with Geekdom to be able to have our camps there for free, and using mentorship from all the startups, all the founders of the startups would come in and mentor the kids. That was a great partnership to help get us started.
Yeah.
Well, I think Geekdom and its ecosystem, also ultimately benefits from young people having this mindset, right? I mean, everyone that is in this building that has started, their business, whatever that business is, first of all, had to learn how to become an entrepreneur, right? Probably late. I mean, from my experience, I was told when I came out of college, you have to take a job in an investment bank or finance or some type of safe job, and I did that for, 13 years. And then I went into entrepreneurship, and I would have loved to have learned those skills much younger, because it didn't feel like an option to just do your own thing, Now it's becoming much more accepted, but it still doesn't mean that you come out of school with that skill set. So I do agree
Spoken like
with
a
you.
true mentor, I would say one of the probably sentiments that I hear most about mentors, and even educators. Gosh, I wished a program like this existed when I was a kid. And that is pure validation to hear. The people that are now championing it are the ones that really get and understand how valuable this could have been, when they were younger. And something else you said reminded me of the World Economic Forum, that crazy statistic of like the kids that are in school today, 65% of them are going to be working in jobs that don't exist yet.
Don't exist, yes.
which is phenomenal when you think about how rapid innovation, things are changing constantly. And so if there is no prescription for this is the type of job for you anymore. If there ever, there was, but we now have to ask kids to imagine their next job and create a new job, and so one of our core curriculums now, one of our core programs that is growing the most quickly in popularity is our middle school career exploration and innovation program. And it is because we want to prepare kids to be imagining new careers. Of course, be invested in STEM and be invested in entrepreneurship and learn what that takes, but also create your next story, create your next product, create your next service. And so I love that curriculum for the way that it challenges kids to, think beyond. And so that coupled with, I think, our mentorship program are two really powerful ways that we can really inspire kids.
Out of curiosity, like there's a big upheaval. AI is coming into the picture. Does that play some part in all of this too?
Yeah.
Like, are you guys considering what AI will do to, even like jobs that I do? I write and I might not write, for a very much longer time. If AI can do it much better sometimes.
Well, I think I think before AI it was robotics, right? Everyone was saying robotics. They're going to take all our jobs, and yes, they are starting to take more of the jobs. And now with AI is definitely going to take a lot more jobs. I mean, I know our kids now are using AI to do their homework and to write papers, and I've used it to write stuff. It's amazing. So I think the thing that's really important to note, and what we're teaching kids, is basically to create their own futures. Another stat as well is that in the future, about 50 to 60% of all of the workforce are going to be freelance or independent contractors. So just teaching kids these skills to be able to work with technology, to be able to work with AI, but then also to be able to imagine their own futures, to create their own careers using technology as it advances. I think that's going to be the benefit for kids, is that they'll be able to use the changing technology and not necessarily be afraid of it taking jobs from them.
Yeah.
I heard one of my sassier mentors kind of made a joke, said, you're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to the person who knows how to use AI effectively,
That's
right?
very true.
And so don't be scared of it. This is a tool for your tool belt that you are going to learn how to master. And if this isn't going to replace your critical thinking skill, you need to learn how to, fold this into your tool set. So yes, right now I see a lot of educators really taking that track because they have to, right? It's coming, it's here. And so how do we equip our kids to be able to use this to their advantage to grow and imagine the future?
I was going to say, that reminds me of COVID. Educators didn't know how to use Zoom, and then COVID happened, and now they're all Zoom experts.
Zoom experts.
I have a funny Zoom story. When that was happening, my youngest was on a Zoom call, and I walk into his room. He's awake. I walk into his room 5 minutes later, and he's completely knocked out. And of course, so thank goodness they're back in school again.
Yes.
Because I don't think AI would have closed that gap. Venture Lab now has completed 10 years, right? And we're now at the end of 2023. Can you share some of the highlights of your 10th year in operation that you can, share with the audience?
Yes, I'm so excited. I mean, we're in January of 2024 and about to kind of publish our impact report for this year. And I'm super excited to say that, we've reached more kids and educators and communities than ever. So we are growing, and I think our model is growing with it. And we're trying to find even more efficient ways to deliver our program. And for me, operationally, that's a win because I know that's just going to translate to more impact, more students reached, more communities served. Our scholarshiping program, too, I think is also growing, which means that the demand is growing and awareness is growing of how this program can be meaningful in a community. So I see that that demand and wanting to meet that demand as more proof that that we're going in the right direction. So scholarships have grown because supporters have grown. More supporters are joining us. So that's made a big difference. And I think us, I mentioned our technical assistant and sort of thought leadership. I really see us moving even more to the forefront in really championing why this is so meaningful and important. The way that SEL, social emotional learning, and Castle's whole movement around why this is important it is now embedded in every single school. Every single school now talks about the soft skills and the social emotional competencies. And there's no reason that entrepreneurship should not be one of those kind of frameworks that's built into every single aspect of the way that we teach. And there's all these applications that we've developed, that our partners have developed. So, I don't know if it's a collaborative, I don't know what it is, but I want to be at the front of that with the people that support it and get it to really kind of, continue to proliferate, democratize, make this available everywhere. And we're learning all the time, right? So, there's better ways to do things. There's more efficient ways to do things. So we're staying agile. We're living the entrepreneurial life and trying to kind of innovate all the time.
And I was going to say, just to add to that, I'm just super proud how, 2012, 13, we started out with 25 students in a summer camp in Geekdom, got up to about 800 students in a summer camp. And now we're serving, I don't know the exact number, 750,000?
I'm gonna say that we're on track to surpass 1 million students served by the end of this year. That's my goal. I'm putting a stake in the
Massive.
ground. I'm putting a stake in the ground with it, and I gut checked it with my staff just this week because we were getting ready to put the finishing touches on this impact report, and I think we're getting there, which is massive when you flash back 10 years ago to what we were doing in this in this building, I guess the old Geekdom building. But
Down the street.
yes, it's so huge. It's so great, and now we have alumni that have come out of this program now that we're hearing from that are off taking the skills that they learned from this program 8 years ago, 9 years ago. So that's going to be a whole new kind of thing to celebrate when we start to see the alumni making good as adults.
You
with the
mentioned
content.
an impact report. How are you guys measuring these outcomes? Is there like a numerical number or some sort of like job career growth or scholarships?
Yeah. All of the above. I mean, all of those are leading indicators to what we are trying to see as a more diverse pipeline of, girls, student of color, leaders in STEM, entrepreneurs.
I think we see it around just today. Like the geekdom of 10 years ago was
Very
vastly different.
Yeah.
Today, like if you look out there, there's so much diversity.
Yeah. Well, and so 10 years ago, this program was starting here, doing this, making these, and leading with this intervention to kind of get to that end. So I mentioned program evaluation earlier. So those outcomes, those sort of like direct outcomes of, improving self-confidence, self-efficacy, and, embracing failure, critical problem solving skills, those types of outcomes are the ones that we measure. So a change in pre and post of the program, training evaluations as well, making sure that educators are leaving with that readiness that I mentioned earlier. If they're feeling more ready, there's a direct connection to the implementation being stronger, and therefore the kids coming out with better outcomes. So yes, we're really focused on the mindsets and the skills to really guide us and say if kids are developing these durable skills, these 21st century skills, they will be more successful in their college career, in their post-secondary, or as entrepreneurs.
And I was going to say, as far as the direct numbers, we, as people download the curriculum, purchase the curriculum, use the curriculum, or get training, we're getting the number of teachers, and then the teachers are self-reporting how many students they're using. So that large number of 750 to 1 million that we're trying to get to is actually reported by the teachers. And I think the great thing too is that it's not just in the U.S. We're in 150 countries around the world.
Impressive.
And I think a lot of people don't know that, but I'm just super proud and amazed that we've been able to come this far. Be able to show this impact, and in particular showing how the students are increasing, their confidence, their interest in starting companies, their interest in STEM.
Yep. It's actually impressive. I had a call just last week with Owaku Academy in Rwanda, who is implementing this program. Just got trained, and they're sending photos next week. So I'm super excited to hear how their implementation goes. All the way to SA Youth here in San Antonio. It's everywhere, and that movement is because we're able to demonstrate these real, applicable, hard changes. That people can see in students. I mentioned use the word transformational earlier, and I really do believe that's what we're doing.
So the last part that I want to talk about is your mentors.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, mentors are a big part of your ecosystem in terms of supporting the education for young minds that are training to become Jedi in the future. How would you, give someone that might be interested in joining Venture Lab, and I guess the question really is how would they go about it? What advice would you give them? And what sorts of things would they expect,
Yeah.
to gain from joining Venture Lab?
Yes, let's both answer this, but I'll say one thing first is that so we have our mentors, right? And then we have what we're lovingly calling our subject matter experts, right? They don't have youth development experience, but they are killer marketers, or they know how to start, business, they're experts in their craft, but they don't really understand what you're doing as a mentor in terms of developing a young mind. So I really do treat them a little bit separately, both super huge and valuable to our program and to our kids' experiences when they come out of this. But if you are going to take on the role of being a mentor, it is an exercise in patience and love. You really have to lead with that empathy, because the kids in our program are young. So you're dealing with a 9-year-old who is really has a great idea for recycled jewelry, but she's got so much to learn. So, you're not coming in hot and hard with, profit margin, analysis. You really are leading with empathy. So I feel like if you want to be a mentor for Venture Lab, it's really having that love and patience to really help kids come out of their shell at their pace and meeting them where they are. But the subject matter expertise, if you don't have that in you, but you really have a lot to share and lend to the world, we host these AMAs where we pair an expert with a mentor that looks a little bit like them, certainly works in their field, for a 45-minute Zoom AMA. And honestly, when we're doing those evaluations, that's one of the most favorite experiences that our kids come through and say, I loved those 45 minutes that I had and was able to glean a lot. So don't be scared if you're not ready to be full mentor. There's definitely ways to plug in and really lend support to kids who could use it.
And I'm just adding on the topic of mentorship. I think that's always been really important to us at Venture Lab. I mean, as a founder of a company, you're not a startup of one. We all have mentors that have helped us along the way. So I've really thought it's been really important to match kids with mentors who look like them, right? We've all heard that phrase, see it to be it. And so I think when a girl or a student of color comes in and sees someone that looks like them, they're like, oh, wow, if she can do it, I can do it. Or if he can do it, I can do it. And so I think that's been a really key part of our program, is making sure that we have these mentors that can really spark this passion and show kids that they can do it too.
Well, as a mentor, so full disclosure, one of the, I think, most rewarding experiences that I've had has been being able to learn, frankly, how to be a better leader, because I see that the same issues that young minds, are going through in terms of starting their journey in entrepreneurship, there are many of the same issues that some of our biggest clients have.
Yeah.
Just because they're not, massively funded and have all of these, other projects going on, it's just that one. In the end, the problem and the core, learning that they're picking up with that experience is directly applicable. Let me just drop that, 12 or 13-year-old, young woman into a startup, and they will be able to, hang with the best of them. So I feel like that, from my standpoint, is probably the most rewarding experience. And now it's going into 3 years, and the growth, and has been incredible. And obviously seeing Desma join, is also amazing. It's a year now, right?
Almost. I'm at about 10 months. I have to say, shout out to the Boost, DigiBoost. Y'all have, you've expanded your mentorship to, like, I'm roping in my company. I'm bringing in all of the support that you're really dissecting what our needs are and pitching in and helping, and it's making a real difference. And so we're grateful to y'all for your support. Partnership right here, because it does make a huge difference. We are a small team. We are our own little startup, 10-year startup, and constantly moving fast. And so, it's bringing like-minded partners along for the ride and helping steer the ship sometimes. That is, I think, led to a lot of our successes.
Thank you so much. We appreciate, the recognition, not expected, but, we will continue to support as best as we can, and certainly look forward to seeing Venture Lab's future growth in 2024. So in San Antonio, if somebody that wanted to get involved with Venture Lab, what would they do in terms of, getting started?
Yes, yes, we would love to have support from, like we talked about, mentors, super important, companies, businesses that want to get involved and support us. We actually have an event coming up in April. It's our annual gala, third annual, and it's in Austin, so just a short ride. But it's called Ready Set Startup, and it is a really fun celebration. Shark Tank style games, pitch games are involved, so it's definitely on the silly side. But it's, the startup community coming together, established businesses coming together to support the next generation. So it's a really fun evening. That's on April 6th in Austin. But here in San Antonio, we have a nice growing group of what I'm calling my little advisory council, and they're really helping us do more here. So if you're interested in learning more and talking to us, I would love for y'all to reach out to me at Venture Lab, and we can add you to the mix.
Are you going to it?
Of course I'm going
Yeah,
to.
Yeah.
I had to ask.
Yeah, okay, well, yeah, of course I'm going to. I'm going to go to it with my bells on and everything. Yeah, you guys need me to dance on stage? I'm happy to do that too.
Oh, good idea.
Perfect.
Have you been roped in yet to do a pitch game?
Mm-mm.
This might be your year.
Have you never? Oh, this
This might be your year.
Oh,
We're gonna
You
have
might
to
get the
pitch
tap on
team.
the shoulder at the
You can
cocktail
have
hour.
a Canadian suit, the all denim. I think you look good in
Oh
denim.
my gosh.
I could do that.
You got to have
There were
something.
a couple of super interesting outfits last year that really stood out. I think there's some inspiration
Well, I
there
will
for
say
you.
a
some
couple,
denim.
2 years ago, Dirk wore, it was like animal print suit.
Oh,
Ooh.
It was awesome.
Animal print suit sounds
Yeah.
pretty.
It's pretty Dirk. Like that is a perfect. He's such a playful character, and I love that.
Yes, I can juggle.
yeah.
Okay.
Ew, you
Well,
can?
if you can weave
Just
it into
three
your
balls.
pitch, that could
We're
be.
gonna put you to work.
Okay, let me know what you guys need help with. I'm happy to do it.
Yeah. Well, we're meeting Monica here in a bit, and she'll tell you what's up. If I can't even keep up. It's talking about moving fast. She's been recruiting panelists, to kind of judge, quote unquote, the pitch competition, and yeah, tables, all of the things. So we'll talk with her a bit, see where we're at.
Crunch time, right?
It is. We're a couple months out, but she's amassed a massive team of people that are supporting. Like, we have a proper planning committee with subcommittees that are, doing procurement of the live auction stuff, and our press committee that's out there getting us in Troy Beza and all of these different outlets. And yeah, so we've got a well-oiled machine going.
Cristal, Desma, thank you so much for sitting with us today. It's wonderful to chat with you all and obviously hear about all the great things that come at Venture Lab.
Thank you.
If you want to learn more about Venture Lab, please visit venturelab.org, like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Boost.